Welcome back to the Alex Jones program. This is Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C., filling in or attempting to fill in for Alex this afternoon. Let me just sum it up. You got to look for means of institutional resistance. You've got about half of the American people who don't like the new regime. This is no landslide. There is no mandate for any kind of radical change, nothing of that sort. It's essentially another close to a draw, 50-50 situation. This is not a permanent realignment of the party system in any way, shape, or form. It all depends on the figure of Barack Obama, who won't be there forever. He can't be the center of a 40-year cycle. Same thing would have been true with McCain. It means that the party realignment remains open. The question of the permanent majority, one way or the other, remains open. Look around for possible institutional resistance. Look for those Republicans in the Congress. Look for conservative Democrats. Look for some New Deal Democrats. The kind of combination that came together in the House against the bailout the first time around is your guideline, I would say. And, of course, don't forget the Supreme Court. Nobody is used to looking to the Supreme Court for anything positive these days, what with Roberts, Alito, Thomas, and Scalia running around there. But, you know, lots of things have turned into their opposite this year. And maybe some of these characters will too, right? That is the genius of the founders, right? That John Adams, dead for 200 years and more, is more powerful than some of these little schemers like Axelrod, Plouffe, and Favreau. We now have time for some calls. We have lines open at 1-800-259-9231. That's 1-800-259-9231. So let's go right to your calls. Let's go to William in Texas. Welcome, William.
Webster, love to listen to you, but the first hour is always the hardest. After you've talked for about an hour, you get a little fatigued and tired, and you fall under the heading of easy listening, which I love. But your work, man, you got your IQ is, I think, obviously higher than most of the audience, because you are a wealth of information and you are firing with both barrels, certainly initially. And, you know, it's just, you got a lot to say, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, great. So look, did I convince you to do anything is the point. You got to bear with me. I've been on the radio probably more hours in the past 48 than I care to mention. So if I get a little bit hoarse, you got to bear with me. This is warfare, my friend. This is war.
Oh, I know.
Tell me about your plans to run for Congress.
I'm sorry?
Tell me about your plans to run for Congress. You're not going to sit there like a literary critic and say, well, the voice was a little bit hoarse in the upper registers. What are you going to do?
Well, you know, I've really thought about this a lot, and I can tell you that how I feel, and from what I see, I think there were more people that voted against the other opponent than voted for.
I think you're right. I think you're right. But we've had Acorn vote fraud, and we've got the mass brainwashing. This was a postmodern coup. This was a CIA people power coup. I wrote a book about it. It's called Obama, the Postmodern Coup. It's the same thing they did in Kiev. They did it in Tiflis. They tried to do it in Beirut. Interestingly, in Beirut, they couldn't do it. If you have an actual mass organization, which in that case was Hezbollah, there's no way around it. Hezbollah stopped them cold. If we had a mass organization, we could stop them cold too. Obviously, it wouldn't be Hezbollah, but you get the idea.
Yes. Well, I think, though, that in looking at the states that that voted against, I don't want to say it the other way, that voted against Obama, I've lived in a majority of those states in my years, and I know how those people are. And if they think that there's going to be any kind of Obama honeymoon here, they are totally too far up in their ivory towers and out of touch. I think that people, it's not that Obama is so great. It looks to me like it's just that George Bush is that bad.
Sure thing. Thank you for your call, William. We look forward to you coming forward politically. Obviously, there were countercurrents, right? One current was the hatred of Bush, Cheney, the neocons, the desire to punish the Republicans for their deregulation agenda, for letting the derivatives monsters run wild. And then, of course, there was a countercurrent, which was the fear and loathing of the unknown Obama, with all of the very, very sordid and unsavory associations that he brought in. So I think, yes, there is an anti-fascist majority in this country. Anyway, that's the historical bet we've got to place. Place a bet on the fact that the American people are still anti-fascist in spite of all of this brainwashing, 9/11, Iraq War, and so forth. This is the anti-fascist country par excellence, and we don't want to forget it. Let's remind people the lines are open at 1-800-259-9231, and let's go to Sean in California.
Hey, Webster, just a couple of quick comments and then a question. Excellent intro into Obama, and specifically what to be aware of in terms of his policies and how to start to combat them. But just two quick comments. You know, I find continued discussion of Obama's citizenship status and his passions of drugs really a futile and mostly a diversion and waste of energy. I mean, we've got bigger things to worry about, and I'm concerned that those are going to be used as divisive and diversionary tactics.
Look, just on that, I think any issue is legitimate. And again, some guy said to me, it sounds like you want to have the Napoleonic Code where you're considered guilty until you're proven innocent. Yes, for presidential candidates, we want the Napoleonic Code. In other words, you've got to prove to us. You want to get your hand on the thermonuclear button. You want to get the launch codes. You've got to prove to us. Therefore, the burden of proof is on Obama. You want to be considered a U.S. citizen. You want this to shut up and go away. As Phil Berg said repeatedly, bring out the birth certificate. Why is this so hard? And I'm not in the business of declaring any issue off the table. You've got a pretty heterogeneous, right, different groups that are coming together now in fear of Obama, want to resist him. Every one of those will bring its own outlook. In other words, for some people, the issue of the illegal alien is going to be the big one. That's not the case for me, but fine. All of this stuff is on the table, right? It's a smorgasbord of reasons. Any reason to oppose Obama is a good one.
Well, I would just say prioritize. I mean, I think we're in a situation now where we really got to stay focused, and so prioritization is really the key. And focusing on that one issue, I don't think is going to.
No, I didn't do that, did I? I gave you about a dozen issues that I think are more important, but this obviously remains. Look, the Constitution, think of it. We had a terrible civil war. I think we've got to learn from that. If you don't have the Constitution, you may have civil war. I'll take the Constitution. And it says in there, natural-born citizen, and I don't think he is. So if he wants to shut us up, bring forward the birth certificate. And let's push on.
Okay, well, let me go back to what I think is a bigger issue here, and that is we got a situation now where, what was the vote, 45? He got 47% of the population voted for him across the country, something like that?
Well, those are the official figures. We got to factor in acorn vote fraud, right? We've got the graveyard vote. We've got the Axelrod Plouffe daily machine. So factor that in, too. I think it's about 50-50, or maybe anti-fascist 51.
I think what concerns me the most is we've got now some 40-odd% of the population who have really become just Obama bots, who are now looking at this man as some sort of deity. Now, of course, the mass media has done a lot of work to present him as such. So we've got a situation where the rest of us, or some subset of the rest of us who are actually thinking clearly, now have an administration, an incredibly powerful administration and private industry we got to battle. But we've got some 40-odd% left-wing fruitcakes who view this man as a deity, who we also have to fight, who will be the perfect candidates as brown shirts going forward. How in the heck are we going to deal with that mess?
Yeah, look, I think you're much too pessimistic. The Obama vote total is not composed exclusively or even primarily of the Kool-Aid drinking, fanatical, lemming personality cultists. It's not. There's probably a group, I mean, it seems to me that it's the left liberals who are the worst offenders in this regard, right, which is maybe 10 or 15%, a lot of those people who voted for Obama did so in desperation because they're looking for a way out of this terrible economic situation. Now, the Republicans didn't help. The Republicans had ads. I was, listening to the ones for the battleground state of Virginia. The Republicans were saying, if you vote for Obama, government-sponsored health care is on its way. Well, a lot of people hear that, and they'll say, hallelujah, I need health care. I don't care who's giving it to me. Don't tell me about free enterprise and, the Austrian school. We need health care, not lectures about economic theory. So the Republicans, by their primitive and stupid economic propaganda, have played into this. A lot of people really think that Obama is going to redistribute the wealth. A lot of those people are hurting. Now, naturally, he's not going to do that. The wealth will be redistributed into the pockets of Soros and Rockefeller and Rohatyn and Rubin and Goldman Sachs. That's going to be the reality.